All right, everyone. Welcome to Tiger Talk Thursday. I'm your host, Janine Chiro, and we are on episode 62 of Transitioning to Life After Sports. But tonight we have a Tiger Talk twist. We are sitting with current Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athlete and mental performance coach, Amy Ford. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. We just connected on social media and here we are. So for those of you that are new to the series, a lot of these discussions are around transitioning to life after sports, whether you've been injured, retired, or some unforeseen circumstance has forced you to hang up the jersey. Well, tonight we're doing a little bit of a twist. Amy is still a current athlete, but we're really diving into the performance coaching side of things as someone who has dealt with her own anxiety and confidence issues, which we will get into. But a little background about Amy. She is a mental performance coach and over the past years has worked with hundreds of athletes to help them take control of their performance and propel them forward in their athletic career. She is a certified NLP practitioner, a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and competes internationally. She has struggled with debilitating anxiety and confidence issues that really held her back in life, something that I promise you we will dive into. For years, she struggled just to leave her house, and it kept her in a very small place in life. One of the key components of her growth over the years was studying and learning how to reprogram the subconscious mind with tools such as NLP, which allowed her to finally take control of her anxiety, thought patterns, and skyrocketed her ability to perform in jiu-jitsu. Can't wait to hear all about it. And if she's not helping athletes take control of their performance anxiety and confidence for optimal performance, you can find her training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, raising her 4 beautiful children, and is currently preparing for her next competition. So welcome. Quite
Thank you.
the quite the bio.
Thank you. It's been quite the journey.
And let's just talk about your journey as an athlete. Were you someone that as a younger child was always excited around jujitsu, or how does one get into that?
No, I got into jujitsu 6 years ago. So I was in my 30s. And
Okay.
as somebody who has had 4 children, it was a way for me to start rediscovering myself and a passion outside of the homemaker kind of identity. And I took my first class. It was a women's only class, and I was hooked. Like it's anybody who does jujitsu knows how addicting it is. And it's just taken off from there. And I've loved it. It's pushed me in ways I never thought possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
And we both work with a lot of athletes, which we've discussed on and off camera. And one of the reasons why I was really excited to have you on as a guest is the topic of anxiety and confidence. Like, we're just going to jump right into it. Take us back to your journey. I think you told me before, for 7 years, you couldn't leave your home. Can you share with us that journey and what that was like for you?
Yeah, that was just a part of my life that was just filled with intense fear. And my world kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I kept having panic attacks in my car on my way to work. And anytime I would have a panic attack somewhere, I would be like, okay, we're not going there anymore. That's not safe anymore. And my world shrunk. And it got to the point where even making it to the mailbox, I would be filled with so much panic. And it kind of stemmed from, I had a pregnancy that had a lot of anxiety symptoms during the pregnancy. And from that moment, it was like a horse galloping away. It was so difficult to manage. I tried a lot of traditional therapies, naturopaths, supplements, everything, psychologists, and nothing could make a dent in it. And it
So
was
in your journey, it was triggered during pregnancy, or it's something that happened before?
I've always kind of struggled with it. It's always been humming in the background, and
Mm,
then it was like blaring alarms when I got pregnant. There was no hiding from it anymore.
yeah.
It was like, okay, it's come to the surface. I needed to manage it, but I didn't have any tools to know how to manage it. So I let it control my life.
Interesting. Interesting. And is there a time of your life that you attribute it to, like where this would be coming from, or where was there something that popped up for you that you've learned throughout the years of dealing and working with this?
100%. Like anxiety, once you really get to know it, you understand that it's your body's alarm system. So your body is very intuitive, it is very intelligent, and it is trying to keep you safe. Like your nervous system literally is trying to keep you safe. It could be the people you're around, it could be your a misalignment in your intuition. It could be maybe you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and you're not aware of it, but you're battling up against your limiting beliefs and you know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
you safe. So there's so many different reasons why you could be experiencing anxiety. The problem that we run into is if we lack the self-awareness into questioning ourselves, like, where is this coming from? What is it for? How do I manage this? Then it can, you cling on to it like there's something wrong with you. And
Correct.
that's when
Yeah.
it's taking over your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely have felt that in the past. And you hear it come up with athletes all the time when it's transitions, or sorry, translates to how they play on the ice, or you can see you can just see the energy shift in someone who has shifted their mindset, and what from going from like a fearful body language closed off to all of a sudden this light, confident energy. So it's really interesting. What are some of the things? Because again, when I speak to athletes, number one thing that comes up is belief and confidence in self. Where would you take a group of athletes, or what would you recommend your top 3 tips for someone who is experiencing anxiety or lack of confidence?
So in the sport context, let's throw this into a sporting kind of
Yep.
situation. I kind of look at it from different angles, right? Because somebody might be really sensitive to their environment. So they might be very sensory in terms of noises, the people in the room, if they're kinesthetic. But it also might be anticipation for the event. So there's a lot of anticipatory anxiety that might be coming in. So it
Hmm.
really, first of all, depends on what anxiety you're feeling. Is it the performance anxiety? Is there a limiting belief about what you feel like you can accomplish about your performance? So it's about unwinding it, recognizing your patterns in play. That's kind of my tagline when I'm really getting to know an athlete. We need to understand our patterns. We need to understand when we're experiencing anxiety and then what to do with it and how to manage it. Sometimes we can clear it really easily with some specific NLP modalities, and then it's never an issue again. Sometimes we can bring in some nervous system regulation techniques so that we can manage the fight and flight response so that we're able to perform optimally. And it's about dropping into flow state. Let's bring how we practice onto the competition mats or the ice or whatever sport we're in.
Yeah. No, I love that. All very interesting things, and more athletes we are seeing getting into the performance space of mental work and mindset work. So it's really cool that we're having this conversation. What was your journey like? What did you need to do? What have you experienced? I know, there's that big time frame, but how did this impact your jujitsu career specifically? What's your exact experience?
So my very first competition, I was like shaking like a leaf. I was just in disbelief that I was doing this because it was the first thing that I had done after not leaving my house for 7 years, and I was throwing myself into a match. I was like, let's fucking go. Sorry, I don't know if we can
No,
swear.
that's okay. Let's just stop for a second. You go from not leaving your house for 7 years. W What took place to get you to leave your house? How did you bridge that gap?
Some-
That's a
Sometimes you just need a passion or something to start pulling you out. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yep.
Um,
So how were you introduced to jujitsu?
Through my ex at the time and
Got
my
it.
kids. They were all kind of in that circle. So I was sitting on the sidelines for so long watching them, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, they're doing it, and now they're gonna come home and beat me up and go out, sneak out at night. I'm not gonna be able to stop them.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I started at a women's only class, and I would go to the class. I'd be so nervous, but then I would take that experience and be like, okay, if I can make it through a 1 hour class and grapple, then maybe I can go to the grocery store for 5
Mm.
minutes, right? No big deal. And then I started to go to the store after jujitsu, right? Like, and it slowly started opening up from there. But I'd say it really opened up when I found NLP, when I started to be able to clear a lot of the triggers, a lot of it around like people. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. So it really starts shutting you down. So once we started clearing a lot of the weight off of that, I started to feel a lot more relaxed.
So I feel like for a lot of people listening, sometimes these conversations, they hear the words, but they don't really understand what we're saying. I understand clearing and those things, but how would you describe, like, give an example of something that I would need to clear if I was feeling it and we could easily clear it? What would that look like? Give us an example topic that and a simple solution action so that someone watching could say, oh, I feel this way. I'll do this and see if that works for them.
So let's take this is my always one of my perfect examples because it's a sporting example. Okay. So take a hockey athlete, for instance. Say they were in a practice
Mhm.
and they've been trying to do these drills and they keep messing it up. They keep messing it up. They keep messing it up. And then now the coach is on them. Their teammates are on them. Everybody's kind of like this frustrating environment. And they're in that moment feeling embarrassed and frustrated and down on themselves. It's a knock on their confidence. So now every time they go in to perform, now they're feeling a little anxious about that moment, about
Of
that drill.
course.
And anytime that they're going to be skating or in a live game, that specific drill is going to be weighing on them very heavily. They've attached a lot of the embarrassment and failure, that weighty feeling to those emotions is attached to that experience. So it's going to affect their performance. And that's kind of like the pattern. That's how our unconscious mind creates patterns in our behaviors based off the emotions and our experiences. So when we go and clear something, it's a way to satisfy or put to rest or let go, like that power of letting go, like the power of being okay with what happened. And there's specific tools we go through. There's some separating tools where we can take those emotions and imagine separating from them or changing them somehow. Like there's very,
It's like have you ever heard of the vicious circle in landmark education? Have you ever heard of landmark education? They
no.
have like there's what happens to you is one circle and then our interpretation of what happens in two, but when they overlap and we create that story about what happens to us and we become the story, it's kind of separating that.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we do. But now it takes that weight of that experience away. We're not
Yeah.
changing memories. We're not altering our experience. We're literally
Mhm.
just removing the weight of the emotion. And when we can do that, when we can dip back into the past, no matter how whatever experience we're trying to work with, then it doesn't bother us as more. If it doesn't bother us, then we can show up and perform a lot more with ease. It opens up our game. We're able to focus on the positive, and it
Yeah.
really changes and translates in ways that, work wonderfully.
For sure. No, I get that. And you were okay, so we bounced around a little bit. Sorry about that. It's curious questions. So from your experience, so you get yourself out the door because of jujitsu and you start adding on more tasks or challenging yourself to, get groceries after going to a workout class. What comes next for you as you're experiencing this release, I guess, of your anxiety, or how would
Yeah,
you describe it?
it's just a way of managing it, right? Like, because the thing is the goal is not experiencing zero anxiety. Like I
Yeah.
said, your nervous system is always going to be trying to keep you safe. It's about managing and understanding what it's coming from and how to manage it. So with my first comp, I was so nervous. Like, I don't know what, something inside of me, like I had a burning desire or that vision or something was like, you got to get out there. And like looking back, I can see the path now. But at the time, I was like, I'm crazy. Like, I'm stressing myself. I'm getting cold sores. My hair is falling out. Like, I'm stressed. Like, this is beyond my comfort zone. But I did it. And then as soon as I was done, I lost them. I got a point in one of the matches though. But as soon as I was done, I was like, okay, like, I feel like if I can control my nerves, if I can control my state of being, I feel like I can be really good at this. Like I feel
Mm.
like there's something here, and it almost became a challenge for me. And I've realized through my journey that I really enjoy challenges. I enjoy pushing myself, and I really like helping people. So being able to
Mm.
apply all of these to the people that I work with has really helped. But
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure you hear a lot of athletes that you work with, the confidence thing would probably be one of the biggest, right? But they also, like I find when I'm talking to a group, there's a lot of stuff that happens that has nothing to do with the sport, but we've got to navigate maybe what they're dealing with at school or a relationship or da da da. And once we clear that, they have so much fun and they're back to that happy go lucky flow state when they start playing on the ice because we've dealt with that emotional block.
100%.
Very cool. What would you say would be your top 3 recommendations for anyone navigating anxiety or confidence issues?
I'd say the first one is recognizing your patterns, 100%. Like just
Okay.
bringing awareness to it and understanding your roadblocks, like, and understanding where and why, like getting really curious about it. Because as soon as you can become aware and curious about it, then you can start to like deal with it
For
and,
sure.
move it. And there's ways to kind of manage it, right? So, the other thing is practicing a lot of nervous system regulation techniques is really important. Deep breathing is the first one. And I know as an athlete, we probably hold our breath so much when we're supposed to be breathing,
Yeah.
right? We always forget that. I'm probably in my first minute of all my jujitsu matches, I'm not breathing,
Yeah.
right? But if we can master that art of pulling that in, it really helps, activate our parasympathetic nervous system and can really help calming our system down. And then it's about challenging our limiting beliefs too. A lot of times when we have a conflicting belief about what we can achieve in our performance, that's when we can experience a lot of friction and anxiety because we're like trying to do something. We don't actually think we can do it, but we're trying to
Mhm.
prove to everybody that we can do it. And it
Yeah.
causes a lot of internal friction, right? Instead of worrying about what other people think, if there's a way to release that expectation and actually just focus on yourself and your controllables, then it opens everything up. So I don't know if that answered your, there's so many
Yeah,
different.
no, for sure. I was going to go back to the breath work because as a speaker, I remember, especially before I gave my TEDx talk, we would do inhale for 4 and exhale for 6 to calm the nervous system because, and is this in your, I'm curious if this is something you were taught, the exhale needs to be longer than the inhale to calm the nervous system.
Yeah,
So it's,
there's a couple different things, right? Like
okay.
for
Oh,
box
the box breathing.
or just like belly breathing. I
Can
do.
you, okay, can you just like show us a few? Because again, people watch these interviews and they hear things, but I want them to be able to apply it immediately as needed. Like, can you show us what box breathing is? Like, give us an
Oh,
example.
box breathing. And then my kids, we all do this together. So box breathing is 1, 2, 3, 4. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, inhale 2, 3, 4. So hold 2, 3, 4, exhale. So you know what I mean? It's like
Yep.
a pattern. And then the other one that I've been really trying, it's really hard because we can just naturally are chest breathers. So like if I'm breathing right now, I'm always in my chest, but it's about activating your abdominal muscles and breathing into your belly, which is actually really challenging. It took me like all day one day to get that mind.
Is that what singers do on stage? The deep
Yeah,
belly
the
diaphragm breathing?
diaphragmatic breathing, right? But that's super important because the further we can draw our breath down, then the more of our vagus nerve it can activate, and there's a whole science behind it, right? And it's about, yeah, just getting more air into your belly.
I
So
love it. I love it. And, I mean, it's so true. You can notice too when we get that shallower breathing, the body language, the shoulders creep up or starting to feel nervous or anxious. You can see it in the body language too. So I love that. So self-awareness for those of you that are listening, breathing techniques. And what was the third one?
I nervous system regulation, but we can
Oh, yeah.
also just call them like grounding techniques too.
Okay.
Just like pat your body, maybe bring more awareness to how your feet feel in your skates or on the ground. You can do like resets, which like spray water on your face or clench and flick your like anything to pull you back into your body. Because when we do get anxious, we're thinking about we're out of our body. Like we got to
Yeah.
get in and bring more awareness to how things feel around us, like what's the temperatures we're feeling. And I know that there's that sensory
Mhm.
one where we can look for colors, look for temperatures, look for sounds, and bring more
Yeah.
awareness to our body.
Very cool. And so how would you compare the Amy that competed 7 year or 6 years ago versus the Amy that's competing? And you were saying now you travel and everything, so you've
Yeah.
definitely dealt with that. What's that meant to you from an experiencing your life as a mom, as a friend, as a contributing citizen of the world? I mean, you must be just showing up completely different.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I think we talked about this off camera, but through my journey, I've been able to go from somebody who hasn't been able to get to the mailbox to traveling to Vegas, traveling to Portugal, competing in all those like I won a match on the world stage, right? And that to
Unbelievable.
me, like that was a huge deal for me. There's like hundreds of cameras, thousands of spectators, 30 mats set up. Like it was really big. It took me 2 days to acclimate to the environment and be like, okay, like I'm doing this. It was crazy. And then I won the match in a minute. So I was completely phenomenal. That to me, even though I haven't won any like world titles, I won a gold medal at a comp in Ontario, but like to me, that is success. That's taking from ground zero to pushing myself beyond my boundaries and controlling my mindset, controlling everything that I can, all of my controllables, and mastering my art. It
Yeah.
felt amazing. And
Yeah.
now being able to take those lessons and help other athletes is, oh my gosh, I love it.
Now we hear you talk a lot about control the controllables, and I have my ideas of what those mean, but can you tell some of the listeners what are the controllables?
The controllables are everything that you can control. Like, I can't control if my competitor's late. I can't control how long I'm in the bullpen for. You know what I mean? And sometimes we can stress about that and it starts to affect our game. We can control our attitude. We can control our skills. We can control our reactions. We can control if we're breathing. Like, those are the things we can control. Everything else beyond our control, which is sometimes the things we stress out about, we can't control that and we can't let that affect what our job is.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. I talk all about attitude, energy, and work ethic. I mean, no one can take that from you, right?
Oh,
And your character is made in those moments. And especially for those of us that are going through adversity, where anxiety and lack of belief of self is at its ultimate highest, right? Um, for me, that would be a deep season of reflection. What do you do when you're like, let's say somebody, because a lot of the times I like to establish these conversations around helping the person that's suffering in silence. Anywhere you are in the globe, I want you to come on, and all the guests, all 62 of them to date already, to share their stories so that the one person who is not able to ask for help yet knows that there's a place that they can come and they can hear these stories and feel I'm not alone. What advice would you have for that person?
I have so much advice. Like, I feel like something that I would constantly tell myself, like all last year, I went through a pretty low point. I injured my neck. I had the numbness down my arm. I lost my house because of a bad investment. Like, we were going through the thick of it, like all at once. It was just like a storm of everything that I had to deal with all at once.
Yeah.
And it was really confusing because I lost myself, right? And I was like, who am I? I have no idea. Everything I was trying to build didn't make sense anymore. And it was really dark. I had some really, really hard days. And I kept telling myself, like, if this is how sad and depressing it can be today, I'm sure there's going to be a day that's going to be just as happy.
Yeah.
Right. So, as deep and as dark as we can go, as dark as the shadows can be, the brighter the light is. And that's what I kept telling myself, is just keep going, just keep showing up every day. Every day it's going to get a little bit better. And just having faith. I have complete faith that, everything, there's a purpose for everything. And if you can find a reason to get out of bed and just move forward, no matter how hard it is, it'll make sense. And looking back now, I'm like, oh, that all makes sense today.
I
Now I
know. Steve Jobs always says that you can connect the dots looking back, but
yeah.
you can't connect them going forward. And I think a lot about too for anyone who's listening, if you're not ready to work out, go for a walk. If you're not ready to, take a look at your nutrition, focus on some protein. If you're, the small little
Mhm.
wins that we can find in our day, and those build your confidence as well. Um, I'm so happy for you that your journey, you've come back around on the other side. And any last words of wisdom for our listeners about what's important to you, or the things that you teach, or something that I didn't ask about that you really wanted to share from your own experience as an athlete or as a performance coach, what you're seeing out there, anything that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, 100%. So my program is geared towards athletes who experience like any type of anxiety or confidence issues. I really believe that the two are very closely correlated together in terms of performance. And this is one of the most common roadblocks that all athletes can experience at one time or another. Like,
Yeah.
their confidence can be shaken at any time. I'm very passionate about the clients that I've been working with, and helping them move through this and seeing their game open up. There is a lot of tools and resources available to help you. You don't have to feel like you have to push through and force through some of these
Yeah.
problems. There are actual solutions that work, that can bring you to a full state of like wholeness in your performance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
I
it's
love that.
super empowering. And I feel like the one thing I am seeing is a lot of these athletes are really young. They're in their teens or early teens is when they're starting to get scouted. So they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders. They're dealing with a lot of external pressures, parents, scouts, coaches, agents, fans.
Yeah.
And
Social media.
social media, right? Is the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So if you can find tools that can help you effectively manage all of this stress and help you get your love back for the sport because it's
Yeah.
truly something you enjoy, I think it's so important and it's so powerful for them, right? Because a lot of times they don't have the tools to help to do it. Like they're just
Yeah.
kids.
No, for sure. And then we get to see what you're really made of, right? So you get to take you're sort of having a hot flash. If you can't tell, my face just read good old menopause. That's your ability to take your game to the next level, right? And then you don't have to sit there and wonder what if.
Yeah.
And now more and more you're seeing the need for mindset, mental performance coaching of any sort. So I love that you're doing this. I love that you're helping the athletes. And you're in Toronto, or whereabouts can people, where are you located again?
I'm just north of Toronto, but all my work's done on Zoom. I
Okay.
also do seminars, team seminars, and also self-defense seminars. So I've had some hockey teams come through who want to learn some self-defense techniques, but we also do some mindset training too, which has
Oh,
been,
I love that.
yeah, it's been
Yeah,
fun.
that's super fun. That's awesome. Well, you heard it here directly, everyone. Amy Ford's in the house, a current Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athlete, as well as mental performance coach. You can find her. I will tag her links in the bottom as well, where you can find her if you have any other questions or want to reach out to her one-on-one. But thank you so much for joining the series. I can't believe this is episode 62. And it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.